Hey guys, it's Allie, and today is November 30th, which means that NaNoWriMo 2018 is drawing to a close. And so I just wanted to take a second today to discuss what this past month of nanoing has been like for me and for a lot of other writers, and to kind of address some questions of what happens next, and is NaNoWriMo even worth it? So stick around, we'll talk about it. I've only ever done NaNoWriMo once before in my life, and that was in my freshman year of high school, so around 8 years ago. And it was just something that my teacher put out to us as a possible extra credit opportunity, and I, being that kid, immediately jumped on the opportunity for extra credit, even though I didn't actually need it in that class. But I had no context whatsoever for what it took to write a novel. I had never written one before, and I had no idea what the kind of community aspect surrounding NaNoWriMo was. So miraculously, I managed to win NaNoWriMo that year, but I had a very sheltered experience, I guess we'll say, of NaNoWriMo at that time. And now, being 22 years old and being somebody who is a part of the writing community and someone who has much more experience with writing than I did back then, it's come to my attention some of the different things about NaNoWriMo that I didn't notice before as a teenager that now I am starting to have a better grasp of. And some of those things are positive and some of those things are negative, and now as we come to a close on this NaNoWriMo, I only have a few hundred words left before I win for the second time, and I just wanted to take a second to really talk about those aspects, the positive and the negative, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff out there about what to do before NaNoWriMo, but there's not as many things about what to do when NaNoWriMo's over. So that's what I want to get into today. The underlying goal of NaNoWriMo is just to get you to write, whether it is watching your word count slowly tick up to the 50K mark on your little personal graph, or if it's having the community aspect of things like writing buddies, or if it's more the inspirational pep talks that they send you through email, or even just the write-ins that they host throughout the country. Whatever your preferred form of motivation is, NaNoWriMo is there to give you that motivation so that you can get words on the paper. And that is a noble goal, and that's great. But there are certain aspects to NaNoWriMo, and mostly in ways that we as a community perceive NaNoWriMo, that I feel can sometimes turn counterproductive. And as we finish off NaNoWriMo this year, I definitely wanted to take a moment to address those things so that we all can continue forward in our writing lives for the better rather than for the worse. One of the most obvious potential shortcomings for participating in NaNoWriMo is what happens if you don't win. And that's not to say that if you don't reach the 50,000 word count goal, NaNoWriMo sends you a personal email attacking you and calling you a loser, but it's not too hard to make the logical jump. If you consider 50,000 words as winning, anything less than that can seem like a loss, even subconsciously. And a lot of times that's not the case. So even if you wrote 40,000 words this month, that is insane. If you wrote 30,000 words, that's amazing. I took well over a month to write the first 20,000 words in my current work in progress, and even that was grueling at times. So to use 50,000 words as this goal that none of us have set for ourselves based on our own writing habits and our own schedules, considering it a loss because you weren't able to meet a goal that you did not set for yourself, it can be a little bit counterproductive and cause some undeserved disappointment at the end of November. The other issue with NaNoWriMo that is less commonly spoken about, but still a definite trend as far as what I've seen throughout the years, both in the 2 years that I have participated and the many years that I have not, is what happens if you do win. And mostly what I am referring to in that sense is creative burnout. We're going all in with the continuity errors. I am hot, so I'm gonna put these up. Like I said, writing 50,000 words in only 30 days is insane and miraculous and wonderful, but it can also be a huge strain on you creatively, potentially. If you think of your imagination like a muscle, then every single time you sit down to write is like working that muscle. Some people are going to be bodybuilders who can crank out a lot of content in hours on end. Other people are going to be more of a low activity endurance training, or somebody who likes more short repetitions. And if you think of NaNoWriMo in terms of this analogy, it's like a P90X. It's like one of those super high intensity workouts where you do a certain amount of activity for a certain amount of days, and by the end of it, you're going to be ripped and everybody's going to think you're super attractive. But the truth of the matter is that depending on who you were before then and the experience that you have during that time, so much activity could potentially be just as draining as the results are worthwhile. When you're burnt out, the last thing that you want to do is whatever it is that's making you feel so burnt out. During NaNoWriMo and during these workout programs, you might be able to push past that because you have a goal that you're looking and working towards. But once NaNoWriMo ends, once that workout program ends, you have nothing holding you there, and it can be extremely easy to just shut down. Your muscles are overworked, whether they be mental or physical, and now all you want to do is rest. So you don't write the next day, and then you don't write the day after that. And then suddenly 2 or 3 months have passed and you haven't written a single word in your work in progress. And the truth of the matter is, if you write during NaNoWriMo and at no other point during the entire year, you've still only written 50,000 words the entire year. Side note, like, that's some people's goal and that's great, but I'm saying if you're trying to write an entire manuscript and like have a book written and published in that amount of time, then 50,000 words isn't going to cut it. Which brings me to my next qualm with NaNoWriMo, not so much the event itself, but more so how we tend to perceive it to be, and that is the idea that you start your novel on November 1st, and you write 50,000 words and type the end on November 30th, and there you have it, your novel. That's not really the case. First of all, you have a first draft. Don't like start sending that out to publishers. But you also don't even necessarily have a full novel on your hands. 50,000 words is technically the minimum amount that you can have in a manuscript in order for it to be considered a novel. A more average-sized text would be around 100,000 words for a contemporary and something like 120,000 words for a sci-fi or a fantasy. So, for example, my current work in progress is a young adult fantasy. I started with 20,000 words before I started NaNoWriMo. That got through pretty much my first act with the exception of a few chapters. If you want to learn more about 3-act structure, I have a video up on that, and I'll leave a little dot thing that you can click through to get to that. But so I had mostly finished that with the 20,000 words that I wrote ahead of time. In the 50,000 words that I've written this November, I still have most of the 3rd act to write. So essentially, NaNoWriMo was me writing the middle of my book, and I still have a lot more to go, probably another, I don't know, like another 40,000 words left to go. So it's not going to be a full-length novel. That's not what you're going to come out of NaNoWriMo with. It's a great start, but don't think that you have to hit the beginning and the end throughout the course of NaNoWriMo. You can be a rebel, you can not finish it in the 30 days. It's more so just the word count of getting 50,000 words out there. NaNoWriMo doesn't explicitly state that you are supposed to start and finish your novel in the course of November, but it is an assumption that a lot of first-time nanowers can make, including myself, back when I was a freshman in high school. And that's all the more reason why burnout can be deadly to your novel, because if you finish your novel in the course of those 30 days, or even if you don't, even if you have a half-finished draft on your hands, if you are feeling totally burnt out by the end of those 30 days, then the idea of just giving up on it can kind of creep up on you, and you either won't finish your novel or you will never go back and revise it. And what you have at the end of NaNoWriMo is a draft. You don't have a finished manuscript, so where has all your time gone if you get the story out and then never actually go back to make it the best it can be? Lastly, NaNoWriMo brings into question the idea of quality versus quantity. So even if you win NaNoWriMo and you have 50,000 words on your hands, how many of those words are actually going to make it into your final draft? Maybe a lot, maybe none at all. It really depends on what you're writing and who you are. And a lot of authors feel like that can be a detriment to their writing. If you feel like you're rushing and you feel like you are just motivating yourself based on a word count and not based on actual story-based goals, the kind of things that you're writing may or may not actually be something that is necessary for your story. That's why NaNoWriMo works best with rough drafts, not even first drafts in some cases, just rough drafts, leaving notes to yourself for future edits, leaving little scenes that may or may not make it into the final draft, but things that just are exciting to you in the moment. Those are all things that you can count into your word count, because even if they don't make it into the final story, they are helping you as the writer to grow and develop your story and your characters and the world that they're all living in. Now, if you are one of those people that is writing your shopping list as a way to get words, or if you are just writing mindless dribble, then maybe not so much. So is NaNoWriMo worth it? In my opinion, yes. I've had a positive experience with it both times that I have participated. I have won both times. Well, I haven't officially won yet, but I have 700 words left to write today before I officially break the 50K mark for November, the 70K mark on my manuscript. But if you go into it with the right expectations, I think it can be a very positive experience no matter what. If you go in with the right goals, if you know your own writing habits and your own writing schedule well enough to set reasonable goals for yourself, I think it can always be a positive experience, because so much of NaNoWriMo is based on the community aspect and even less so on the actual writing of words aspect. And so ends NaNoWriMo 2018 for me and for everyone in a few hours. I hope you guys enjoyed this month, and if you did or did not, I would love to know your experiences down below, whether you already finished NaNoWriMo like weeks ago. I know some of you guys were like done way ahead, or if you're like me and you're using today as your last hurrah, or if you are participating in NaNoWriMo but either had a different goal set for yourself than the 50,000 word count goal, or if you did have the 50,000 word count in mind but weren't able to, through whatever circumstances, to reach that goal. I would love to hear your experiences with NaNoWriMo. Do you agree with the things that I talked about before? Do you have other reasons or experiences? I would love to hear them in the comments below, so please let me know. And if you liked this video, please do drop it a little like, and if you enjoy my content, please do subscribe. I make videos every Friday, so hit the little bell thingy and you will get notified every single time I post a video. Other than that, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Those are the social medias that I am the most active on, though I do also have a Facebook and a Tumblr, I think. So I will leave all of those linked below in the description as always, and I will see you guys in the next video.